I know you've heard of Titanic. I know you've heard of Lusitania. Have you heard of the Wilhelm Gustloff or Project Hannibal? No, me either. And I am very much a history girly, and I knew nothing about this until I read Salt to the Sea by Ruta Septys. I went into this book completely blind, as I do almost all of my books, to be completely honest with you, and like imagine my shock when it was about a maritime disaster. Considering one of my favorite books this year was Erik Larson's Dead Wake, which is about Lusitania, and I kind of like fell into this weird niche, and I was like, ooh, this is so interesting. I've been enjoying learning about this. Although this book is not nonfiction the way that Dead Wake is, it revealed so much to me about a history I knew nothing about. This story follows a very large cast of characters, so we're not going to get too deep into that and everything. However, all of these characters' final destination is to be a refugee in Germany while escaping Russia during World War II. And once they reach Germany, their goal is to escape Germany. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is, like where to go from there, but they really just want to be refugees and be safe, truly, is the goal. So we follow this cast of characters on their journey. Once they reach Germany, I believe it's Germany, they end up at a port and are put on a boat in order to escape with a bunch of other civilians. This boat is called the Wilhelm Gustloff. This is a true story. The project to get civilians out of Germany during World War II at the end of the war was called Project Hannibal. The goal was to remove as many civilians as possible from the area so that they could all be out before Allied troops got in, and hopefully no one was harmed in this process. And so the Wilhelm Gustloff was previously, I think it was a warship, or maybe it was a luxury ship and then it was converted into a warship. It was one or the other. All that is to say, it was not a very large ship. It only had a capacity of approximately like 3,000 people. Despite that, because of this Project Hannibal and civilian measures to get people out during the war and the amount of refugees, they packed these ships up. And the Wilhelm Gustloff in its departure in this book and in real life had approximately 10,000 people on it. It did not make it very far until an Allied torpedo hit it and it sank. Unfortunately, in real life and in this book, that resulted in the death of approximately 70 to 80% of the people on the boat. We will never know how many truly that is because this was such a scattered operation, so not everyone that was on the boat was recorded anywhere, but we have a very good guesstimate as to how many people unfortunately passed away, and it is around approximately 8,000 people. That's an insane number. That is a number that defies all expectations of like civilian casualties in war, and it's something that I've never heard of, and I doubt you have either. And so this book was really eye-opening to me about a part of war that we just really don't talk about. That's kind of how I felt about Dead Wake as well. Like, I've heard of Lusitania, but the way that it was humanized so well in that story really just brought me to honestly tears for these people. I felt so bad for them. You know, civilians, it's just an awful situation when they are the casualties of something as terrible as war. And so this was a very difficult read, but I felt like it was super necessary. I've read other Ruta Septys books. I hope I'm saying her name right. I don't know if I am. I'm so sorry if I'm not. I've read the one that they had to rename. It used to be called Between Shades of Grey, and then they changed it because it was too close to 50 Shades of Grey. That being said, I read that one, and now that I've read this one, these are the two that I've read from her, and I'm constantly impressed by her ability to tackle difficult and often overlooked histories. You know, frequently the stories about Germany in World War II are the only stories that we get told. We often are not told stories from like Russian civilians or Russian refugees who are fleeing, and it's hard. It's a very difficult history to talk about because they're fleeing to Germany. And so this is a very nuanced and hard history because what we know is that Germany was also the bad guys. But so was Russia. They were also persecuting and killing and placing people in gulags. And so there is really no good person in this scenario between Russia and Germany. And so the ability for Septice to discuss this nuanced history in a way that almost no one else does is really, really well done, and I really appreciate that she's willing to tackle those hard histories. At one point in this book, I believe she says specifically the words, "They fled Stalin into the barbed arms of Hitler." And I don't think that there is a better way to kind of conceptualize how people felt at the time being a refugee in Eastern Europe, trying to just be safe somewhere. And so this book is a heart-wrenching and honestly just devastating, unforgettable read that taught me a lot. And so I really think this is one that you should pick up if you're interested in history, if you're interested in maritime disasters, if you're interested in learning about, you know, additional overlooked stories of World War II. This one is for you.